All right, season podcast, mini pod on a Monday. We generally do these on Sunday, but we were quiet last night because we felt like something might be afoot in the NFL on Monday. And we got some news today. Nick, Brian Daboll has been fired by the New York Giants. There's 2-8 so far this year, 3-14 last year, 6-11 in 2023, and in his first season in 2022, so he's been there 3.5 years, 9-7, his only winning season. And the Giants have decided mid-season to move on from Brian Daboll. What was your instant reaction to hearing that news?
Yeah, I mean, this was something we talked about earlier in the year when they went to Jackson Dart in a desperation to save their jobs. I mean, we've seen it before. We've been around the NFL, and we came out with a reel that got a lot of popularity and then also a lot of criticism. Just saying, them going to Jackson Dart this early is not the best for the rookie in his development. You have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So our prediction was the coaching staff wouldn't survive the year. I know guys on the staff, even a previous coach, previous teammate, who's actually the interim head coach. So there's times where we make these predictions, and it's from our time in the NFL and what the wisdom we've gained from playing the game, watching the game, being in the locker room, and seeing it from other teammates. And that's the prediction we made earlier in the year of why Jackson Dart shouldn't play, because this is what we sort of foresaw based on the history of the game. And there's definitely times that you don't sit here and I don't take pleasure in this situation. I feel for Daboll. I feel for the Giants. In this situation, I would have loved to have been wrong. There was a moment for a few games where I'm like, you know what? This might be the one time in the history of the NFL that I have seen where a coaching staff on their last leg turns to a rookie quarterback and actually saves their jobs and renews their contracts, because it just doesn't happen. And a big reason for that is, I think what solidified it was an interview with Daniel Jones with the Colts early in the year, and he talks about his time in Minnesota and how it was his first time to see coaches with the attention to detail in the facility. It was the first time he experienced that in the NFL. And to me, that showed what was going on in the New York Giants facility with the coaching staff. There's some great coaching there. Daboll is a great coach. Kafka, there's other coaches there that are solid coaches, but for some reason, as a whole, that regime has not had the success and developed the culture that is a winning culture.
On the one hand, and you may feel differently about this, I don't like midseason firings. I don't think it accomplishes a whole lot for you. I mean, here's the upside to it. You get a look at your interim. In this case, it's going to be Mike Kafka, who has a reputation for being good with quarterbacks. So maybe they want to see how Mike does with Jackson Dart for the rest of the year. But the downside, which I think outweighs the upside, is the interim. And by the way, you also get your search started earlier to go find that next guy. And I think the college openings this year, the firings of Florida, LSU, Penn State, I think that has made NFL teams, let's say like Lane Kiffin's a possibility. I think it's made NFL teams kind of say, okay, maybe we need to speed this thing up a little bit. I don't know. It's possible. The downside, though, is I think your interim success, if you get that interim spark, it can cloud the picture, right? You win like 3 games and all of a sudden the whole locker room's like, oh, we love this guy, let's hire him. And it's almost always a mistake, right? So I think I don't understand midseason firings, especially this one. As much as I didn't like them moving to Jackson Dart, and I've criticized Daboll, I played for Daboll too. I like him. I think he's a good football coach, but I'm still surprised they did this. Now, here's why I think they may have done it, and I want to get your reaction to this too. So the obvious one is statistically, 4 games this year, they've had it on the road 4 times. They've had a lead by 10 or more on the road and lost the game. Okay, now some of that, at least 2 of those games, is because, hey, you don't have a running back in Cam Scatterbo because he got hurt, so it's hard to play with the lead. And secondly, your wide receiver 1's been out for a long time, and Malik Neighbors. So they're shorthanded, right? And so you got to give them a little bit of slack for that. Secondly, Dart has been in the injury tent too much. And I don't think you can understate this one. So he had a concussion in yesterday's game against the Bears and had to actually come out. But in his 7 starts this year, 4 of them he's been in the blue tent for one thing or another. Usually had like concussion-related issues. Okay, so if I'm the owner of the Giants, I go, are we being reckless with our first-round pick? He's constantly in, granted, he had 2 rushing touchdowns yesterday. His legs are part of what makes him a good player. But are we being reckless by constantly putting this kid in the blue tent? Do I trust Daboll to put him in Jackson Dart in the right positions to be successful? Can I trust him with our most prized possession moving forward, Jackson Dart? So ultimately, I think that's why they did this. In the last one, and I think if you're overlooking this, you're crazy. Daniel Jones' success in Indy, and you mentioned a comment he made too, is not a good look for Daboll, right? For him to go over to Indy, and we'll see where Indy goes from here. Rough game yesterday, but they still won. But the rough game 2 weeks ago as well. They're starting to show some cracks. But if you don't think Daniel Jones' success in Indy has something to do with ownership looking at Daboll being like, what is this? He won us a playoff game. Our only playoff win in a decade for New York is 2022 with Minnesota against Minnesota. And now he's in Indy kind of kicking ass. Like, that's a problem. So I think all these things added up for New York, and that is why I think they did it. I don't necessarily agree with why they did it or doing it at this time, but I think that is ultimately why they did it, were those three things.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. Mid-season firings aren't good for anyone. It's difficult for the players. It's difficult for the organization. The only reason I can think of, there's a few. I mean, I like the idea. I mean, I said it last week. Lane Kiffin, he's getting a lot of talk in college. He's had a lot of success at Ole Miss. All these big jobs opening up in college. Yeah. His name's at the top of the list. If you want to go get him right now, you got to put your hat in the ring. Would he leave college for the NFL? Absolutely. Yeah. Every coach that's in the NFL that tastes the NFL doesn't want to go back to college. So if he goes to the NFL, I mean, if he gets that opportunity, he's going to go. A lot of times.
So you think that's part of the reason they moved this quick?
I think we'll find out soon.
Let me ask you this though, Nick, and this is important. If you're Lane Kiffin, let's just focus on Lane Kiffin for a sec, because there'll be other guys that get looks at this. Lane Kiffin's a hot commodity right now. Yep. Now, he's coached in the NFL before. He was at the Raiders, didn't work out that well. He's failed in places, but right now his stock is high. If you're an A coach, let's just say Lane Kiffin for a second, and let's call him an A because of his history with Jackson Dart. Do you want this job? Now, let me remind you, they've had 6 interim head coaches since 2016. The New York teams, like the Jets, the Giants, they've proven they're a mess. They're reactionary. Maybe it's all the radio and all the talking heads in New York that put all this pressure on them. They are so fickle and reactionary. They have no idea what they're doing. So if you're Lane Kiffin, yeah, Jackson's there and you feel good about him, and there's some good young players, but you got to get better as a team. If you're an A coach like Lane, do you want this job?
Absolutely. I think if you're Lane Kiffin and Giants offer you the job, you take it, because, you know, a lot of times, and I've talked about it before, where coaches on their last leg draft a quarterback in the first round and then they don't make it. This being an example of Daboll. He did not survive this year with a first-round draft pick at quarterback. Then you hire another coaching staff that inherits a first-round pick, and very seldom, never, is that coaching staff the one that drafted this quarterback. So they have to inherit and show that they can work with this first-round pick. Well, right now you have the hottest coach in college that actually coached this guy in college. And so if you bring him to New York, Lane Kiffin is hilarious in the media. And you can't get a bigger media market than New York. So it's going to put fans in the stands, which makes the value of your team even more from a marketing perspective and a fan perspective, hiring Lane Kiffin. Lane knows how to work with Jackson Dart. They had great success at Ole Miss. He knows when he comes back in the NFL, my first hire is an OC that was probably a previous head coach that can do it, and he's probably going to call plays or however he's structured. Then I'm going to get a great DC like a Vic Fangio that was a head coach and long-tenured DC that has creativity, and then a solid special teams guy. Mm-hmm. And he'll know how to construct that. If I am New York, I am going after Lane Kiffin because of everything I just said. I think it's exciting. I think it's great for your team. I think it's great for your organization. Will it succeed? I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyone else you go after has, in my opinion, less chance to succeed because they've never worked with Jackson Dart. So I do think I saw this when we talked when the Jackson Dart reel early in the season. I told you Mike Kafka, interim head coach. I was with Mike.
Yeah, you did say that.
This isn't one of these things where I'm patting my back. I wish I was proven wrong. These guys lost their jobs. Fortunately, coaches have these guarantees in their contracts, so they're going to get paid and all those. But I do think Mike Kafka is also a name every single year that has potentially interviewing for another head coaching job and had these opportunities. So the Giants ownership is also seeing, hey, maybe a young guy like Mike Kafka, who played quarterback in the NFL and was with Andy Reid, maybe he can bring some of that Andy Reid structure. Because I don't know how Daboll runs his team. I don't know the structure. Yeah. I don't know the practice.
Every coach has wildly different personalities.
Yes.
Like Daboll is a volatile, emotional guy. He's a good coach. He's a very smart offensive guy. Wildly different personalities. So you're going to see a different demeanor and presence on the sideline in Mike Kafka the rest of the season.
And honestly, that's what they need. At the end of the game.
And Mike, by the way.
And I know Mike. Mike is going to be steady. Mike is a really smart person. He was a really smart player. He's a really smart coach. He's tutored under Andy Reid for a very long time. If I'm Mike Kafka and I want to have success, I'm literally closing my office doors for a moment and I'm going back to what I did with Andy Reid. All right, how did Andy Reid? First thing I'm doing is I'm having my new assistant or whoever it is be like, hey, can you just bring me in index cards? I'm going to have a pile of index cards and I'm going to go back to my team meetings are going to be on one index card. My offensive meetings are going to be on one index card. That was Andy Reid's structure. I'm going to fine tune and learn from one of the most successful coaches that's ever played the game. And then I'm going to let my personality go in there a little
Is
bit.
that
But
just, do you mean this keep it simple by doing that? Is that what you mean? Like,
that's Andy Reid. If you watch him in team, he only has one index card and he goes off that real quick. He has his main points. Boom, boom, boom. He wants it quick. That's an elite structure. He knows, Mike knows from playing with him, like, hey, if you're going to have success right now, you need to go back to that. And honestly, I can see teams that lose their coach mid-season, they're the most dangerous, in my opinion, the next game. So I'm probably picking I don't know who the Giants play next game, but I'm probably picking the Giants.
It's not pretty, dude. Like, their schedule
they have the
coming
toughest
up is
schedule in the
brutal.
NFL, and we've talked about it, but I do know from an emotional standpoint, this next game is their best chance, and then it sort of teeters and the emotion drains away. But I do think Mike Kafka can do a good job and sort of right the ship.
They go Green Bay, at Detroit, at New England.
Well, that's perfect.
Perfect.
Green Bay plays tonight. They're going to play up to the Eagles level, and then when they play the Giants, they're going to play down to the Giants level, and the Giants will probably beat them. So that's actually perfect. Another thing I'm doing if I'm Mike Kafka, if I'm stepping in that role right away, all right, Jackson Dart concussion protocol, probably out this next game. Russell Wilson is now my 3, if not inactive. And I love Russ. Russ is potentially a Hall of Famer. I know other people have opinions about that, but amazing career. It's just not going well in New York, and it doesn't look good when he's on the field, and the players just aren't rallying around him, but I still have so much respect for him. Jameis Winston is now my starting quarterback until Jackson Dart is healthy. Once Jackson Dart is healthy, Jackson Dart is my starting quarterback because Mike Kafka, the ownership is going to be like, Jackson can play, but you got to protect him. Like, he can't go in this blue tent. And this goes back to earlier in the year when I was like, this is not the right time for Jackson Dart to play. He needed to watch Russell Wilson. He needed to watch Jameis Winston prepare throughout the week and play the game, make the checks, get the hots out, and protect the body, protect the head from these situations. Going from college to NFL, you still have this aggressive approach where you run for everything. You got to make those plays. Those plays are awesome. But you have to learn the slide. You have to learn to protect yourself. You have to learn
not sustainable.
You can't be a hero each and every play because it's such a long season. You have to learn how to play the position, and then you want to make those plays with your legs. That's one of your great skill sets. But playing early in the season before he can have time to learn how to prepare, learn to watch these elite pros play the game, that was my problem, and it's showing right now. He's in concussion protocol, and injuries do happen, but, he didn't get the time to watch him. So if I'm Mike Kafka, Russell's either inactive. I might even bring in someone else, a young guy, and I'm literally riding with Jackson Dart and Jameis Winston the rest of the season because I personally think, I don't know Jameis' contract, but Jameis is a great backup for Jackson for the future. So I think Jameis should be there next year. And let's just see what these two guys do together. And I honestly think if Jameis goes and plays in a game, he's going to win those games. Like, he's going to bring a lot of energy, a lot of swag that you need right now. So
four touchdowns, 3 picks, but yeah.
No, I mean, but he's dangerous at any time. Like, you just don't know, and defenses don't know what Jameis you're going to get. So, and I just love what he can do for the team. So it's a very interesting situation in New York. And also, Ole Miss is where are they, top 10 right now in NCAA?
One loss. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs.
So probably. It's just a really tricky situation because you also have Lane Kiffin, going back to Lane, college football playoff, making a run for a national title. Man, if I'm Lane, this is such an awesome opportunity with Ole Miss. Man, I don't want those distractions. So really interesting situation going on there. It sucks for the staff that it happened. I hate to see it. Injuries, coaches firings and everything. But you know what? They are fortunate. They have a guy in Mike Kafka that, honestly, if you're going to have your interim head coach, why not have a guy that has interviewed to be head coach in the past, and he's a young guy. So maybe he can right the ship throughout the rest of the year and make a difficult decision on who you hire next.
So I've got him at, again, from a record standpoint, Brian Daboll being fired at, I think, 20-40 over 3.5 seasons. That's obviously not good enough.
No.
So from that standpoint, it's pretty obvious. But you brought up a really good point there in that our initial point earlier in the season when they went to Jackson Dart, and we criticized the move. We thought it was not the right thing for Jackson, not the right thing for the team. And the first couple games went well, and every Giants fan was like, "Hey, this take isn't aging well." Well, you didn't let it age, because and by the way, it still has not aged. This needs time, right? So we can find out, because from moving forward, from now till the end of the season, you're a 2-8 football team. You just fired your head coach. You need all your veterans, what the few that you have, to 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 give you everything they have and play at a high level, even though you just fired your head coach. Because by the way, in the NFL, that does happen. Guys will mail it in. Like it's not a foreign concept. And so time will tell these last 7 games of the season if this was the right move for Jackson Dart or for the team to start Jackson Dart. Because Jackson has to be able to, and I understand Mike Kafka's like this quarterback whisperer in some sense. He's got a connection with Jackson Dart. Jackson will be out there soon. Time will tell if this was right for Jackson, or if this experience and all this sort of disaster that's building around him while this team crashes and burns is going to affect his development. We will see. Has he done some things because he's a good athlete? Yes. Like Jackson Dart has a very high ceiling. We've acknowledged that many times. But he needs to be in the right situation with the right infrastructure around him to succeed. And the reality is 4 out of 7 games he's been in the injury tent because he's being asked to do things he should not do. And it's not good for his development. And that's what we were talking about. And so we really won't know if our take back when they first decided to start him, we won't know if that take is valid or correct until we get even further along in the season. And you just hope for Jackson's sake, both physically from an injury standpoint and emotionally from a developmental standpoint and psychologically, that this stuff doesn't damage him permanently as a starter. That kind of stuff, or I should say at least set him back 2 or 3 years, right? He's a confident young kid. You don't want to strip that from him.
No,
But
and that's the
we'll see how this plays out given what's going on right now with the Giants organization.
And that's the point, playing him early. Let me just put it this way. He came from college where he had a lot of success and he learned how to win games. He came into the NFL with that mentality, showed it in the preseason, showed these highlights that he's a winner. He knows how to win. He even showed it in his first start. But now he's learned how to lose games as a team. They've taught him how to lose these games that they should have won. There was 3 of these games that they lost that in the fourth quarter, there was an over 90% chance that they were going to win these games, and they found a way to lose them. That goes back to the coaching staff. That's why Daboll's not there. But you just taught this young quarterback how to lose games that knew how to win games and came into this league only knowing how to win. Mm-hmm. Now, Jackson Dart's going to be fine. I like what I see. Evan and I have talked about it.
We hope so.
I think he'll be all right. He's had a solid year playing as a rookie. It's not enough to save Daboll's job. If he had a competent coaching staff as a whole, I think he's having uber success, and they're having uber success as a team. But I do think as an ownership too, with Jackson having a concussion, being in the blue tent as much as he had, how much does he play this season? Do you even make Jameis the starter during the interim run to protect your rookie quarterback, or do you feel confident? There's a lot of decisions this ownership has to make. It's tough for the fan base. I've been around a lot of Giants fans, and I'm not even going to sit here and be like happy. It sucks. It's a tough situation. Hate it for Jackson. Hate it for the players. Midway through Indianapolis, my last year, Frank Reich was fired midway through the season on the day my youngest son was born, and then Jeff Saturday was named the head coach. And then we won the next game and lost every game after that, and it was just a miserable time finishing out the year because we knew everyone there didn't have a future there. All the coaches knew they were gone. Some coaches even left mid-year, and we were short on our offensive coaching staff because guys bailed early because they had a better opportunity. So,
in light of that, Nick, before the mini pod turns into a medium pod, in light of that, let me just ask you this real quick before we sign off. Given all the things we just discussed, if you were John Mara and you ran, and by the way, they're keeping their general manager. Okay, so whoever they go hire is going to have to work with their GM because that guy's not going anywhere. He's made a ton of mistakes. Would you have fired Brian Daboll right now?
I mean, honestly, because Mike Kafka is my OC, yes.
Really?
I think if Mike Kafka is someone who's not under the Andy Reid tree, it has not been someone that has been talked about many off seasons as a potential for a head coaching job in the NFL, probably hang on to the last couple games to buy me some time. I also think the Lane Kiffin thing plays into effect.
Brian's the best coach on your staff, though, right? Can you acknowledge that?
Yeah, I mean,
On your
he's the most proven. I think Brian Daboll on his next coaching stint, when he becomes an OC or whatever he does, is going to have great success. I
yeah.
think he's going to be a good job. He just showed that he wasn't able to do it as a head coach. But I do think it is a time where Mike Kafka can step in, and because of him, I don't have a problem with it midseason. It does stink, but I do think Mike Kafka is good enough to hold on for the rest of the season and give him a chance.
Well, there you go. I mean, Nick obviously knows Mike Kafka personally. You were in Philly with him for how many years? Just one, or was it
Just honestly, just my rookie training camp.
rookie training camp? Okay.
No.
And Mike's got a good reputation. He's been given interviews and opportunities, and now he'll have a chance to basically have a lengthy audition for this job, while the Giants go court other potential candidates as well. So again, dicey move. Midseason firings are always dicey. This could spell disaster for the rest of the season. We'll see what it means for Jackson Dart. Nonetheless, that's our take on a Monday mini pod. Thanks for listening.